Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Writing and Publishing a DIY Guide. In this episode I'm going to talk about something which, if you've been in the aspiring writer scene for any time, you are going to feel like I'm trying to teach your granny to suck eggs. What I want to talk about today is showing, not telling. What does it mean? Why do people say you should do it? And what some people don't talk about so much, when you maybe should tell and not show. So, show, not tell, what does it mean? If you write, say your character is Tim, if you write a line in your novel, Tim felt sad. That is a classic example of telling. You're basically telling the reader how someone feels. And the easiest way to understand the difference is if you think about watching a movie, watching a film. You don't have a narrator telling you that a character in a film is feeling sad or angry or happy, anything like that. What you do is you see how that character is behaving and how the expressions they're making, and anything that you see visually that's telling you the story. It's a form of visual storytelling. So if you turn around and said instead, Tim dropped to his knees and began sobbing hopelessly. This isn't brilliant writing, this is just stuff I'm inventing off the top of my head. That there tells you that he's feeling sad, but it doesn't mention that he's sad at all. It's effectively, it doesn't tell you that he's sad, but it's effectively describing what would be happening in the movie of your book if they'd already made a movie of your book. And that's really how you need to convey emotion in your stories. You don't really want to tell people things in this way. That is what you don't tend to want to do. The way to do it right is to imagine your book's already been made into a movie. Imagine you're watching that movie and it's being directed by somebody good and there's some decent actors in it, and then describe what you're seeing in that scene. And that's going to get you closer to what you want, which is this idea of describing a scene which conveys an emotion. Now, there's a danger to showing, and you should show, not tell, a lot of the time, because it's a lot more engaging for the reader. It's a lot richer experience reading this sort of thing. When you read a good book, a really good book, and you kind of don't notice that you're reading a book and you almost feel like you're watching a movie in your head, that's when somebody is doing this sort of thing. The trouble is, if you try and show 100%, and there'll be people who disagree with me with it on this, it's an opinion of mine. If you try and show non-stop from beginning to end of your book 600 pages of non-stop show with zero tell, what you can find is it can come across as a little bit overwritten in places, depending on what's happening, and also it can really bog down the pace. You know, if you've got a bunch of characters on a journey to the next town, for example, trying to describe in sort of rich detail the entire journey of that town, the entire the entirety of that journey, and you do it in this way of describing every individual moment and making it as rich as possible. You basically make it so that nothing's happening in your novel. Sometimes you just want to get your character from point A to point B quickly. And the way you do that is by telling. Sometimes you just need to say, they packed the horses and rode to the next town. you've got to look at what's important for your story. You want everything that needs to be there in there, but good. But you don't really want to necessarily dwell too much on things that shouldn't be there, unless you're doing literary fiction or something where the book's really not so much about the story, but about the writing and the enjoyment of reading, even if not necessarily what's happening. So that's the key thing to think about. It's don't tell people how to. If you're using the word feeling a lot or felt in your novel, and you find that when you put it into something like Pro Writing Aid that I talked about in the last video, and you'll find that you're being flagged up for using felt and feels and feeling a lot, you're probably telling too much. You know, you probably need to dial that back a bit and try and pick some of the key moments there, some of the more important ones where you're trying to convey a stronger emotion or something that's more imperative to the story, and rewrite those so that you're using more of a visual storytelling technique. Imagine the scene as a movie in your head and describe what you're seeing, and that should work better. That should give you a better manuscript. Hope that's been helpful. Sorry it's been a short one today. I could probably talk about this some more, but that is the basics of it. When you're writing your first draft, that's the main thing that you need to think about. Thanks for watching. Hopefully see you in the next one.